Hey Zen fam, I'm gonna make this one a fairly short video, as I'm sure by now a lot of you have probably already seen this whole thing about DualSense Drift. That we've all seen about DualShock Drift. We've seen Xbox One Elite Controller Drift. There's even been cases of drift on the DualShock 4 and 3 and probably 2 and 1 when they did the reissue with the sticks. Therein lies the problem. This design here. We've had this design forever. I mean, basically what you have, right, is you got your wee stick in there, right, and as it moves back and forth, right, higher, back and forth, alright, its little actuator moves back and forth with it, and there's one on each side, and then there's ones on the other side as well, so you got actuator, so forward, back, left, right, blah blah blah, and it senses the movement and turns it into electronic impulses, and the controller tells the game, hold on, the guy is going this way, right, or the guy is going that way. And some of the controllers, in fact most controllers now, have an ability for you to press the controller down, thus giving you another form of input. However, these little motors, these little bits of engineering, have not changed really ever in the last sort of 5, maybe almost 10 years, right? As far as I've been able to figure out. These damn things have remained exactly the same, and I'm like, what? If you know that this is the problem, then fix this. Don't have to take yourself to court cases and do expensive refurbishments and replacements. Surely, right, it costs you more to have to continually send out new controllers, right, than to fix this design, because this design clearly isn't working, right, or at least it doesn't work for a long period of time. Now you consider that, a lot of people will have a games console for a long time, okay, especially when it comes to collectors, and my phone going off, but especially when it comes to collectors, alright? Collectors hold on to stuff. And I'm like, what the hell are you guys doing? Sony, Nintendo, Microsoft, Stadia. It doesn't matter. They all use these same bits of kit or variations on it, but they're all basically the same. This is your problem. The only thing we can do is to make sure not to eat anything over the controller, so that it doesn't get any little bits of food matter that get in these tiny little sort of gearing bits. Now, it has to stay as something similar to this, I understand that, because you don't get the same response when you're sliding across a touchscreen. You need something analog to accurate, to get a real sort of feel for what the game is actually doing. But it blows my mind even more when I consider this, right? This damn thing, right? Great controller as it is, right? They've upgraded the battery, thank you, They've done amazing things with these triggers that make them all special responsive and stuff. They've put in special motors so it's not just it's subtle and it waves across and stuff, and it does all kinds of clever doodads that hopefully developers will take advantage of over the coming years. But if this, one of the primary inputs of your controller is bound for failure in something that, depending on what game stick you buy, can cost you anywhere from 45 to nearly 200 quid, and this is cheap and almost everybody uses it, and it breaks down. Guys, seriously, those of you making consoles and making controllers, change this. Okay, this needs to be revolutionized. All this is lovely, this is great, but this is hugged it back. If this little fella here is part of the reason why maybe someday this will start to drift. Luckily, you know, as of now, I've not suffered any form of drift on any of my controllers ever. Thankfully, praise the gaming gods. But heaven forfend it should ever happen. Luckily, I have a receipt and I have insurance because I'm a planner, right? So I can send this off. But while it's away, I can't play. Who wants that? Does anybody want that? No, nobody wants that. So this nonsense, seriously, Sony, see, for the next generation of this, right? Because chances are in about a year you'll do an upgrade to this, you know, and when you do the upgrade to this, I'll buy it as long as this also gets upgraded. I mean, can I be any clearer? So, for all you boys and girls out there, here's the only things you can really do right now. 1, didn't eat near your controller. 2, try and keep your controller away from fibrous materials, like didn't leave it on the carpet. Clean your hands before you touch it, because it's white anyway, so you know. And yeah, if it does go, there are tutorials online as to how to fix drift, but by all means, your only real defense is basically have a receipt so you can take it back to the shop. Because with a receipt, at least in the UK, I hate using that term, but at least over here, on this side of the Atlantic, when you have a receipt, you have a year with the device. And if it goes wonky, within that year, you have the right as a customer, as a consumer, to walk yourself back to the game store, or back to Argos, or Tesco, or Sainsbury's, or, you know, Curry's PC World, or wherever it was, you picked it up and go, oh, this is knackered, I want a new one. Now luckily, the pads themselves are nowhere near as bad for stock as the actual console, so that's a small saving grace. But as it gets right down to it, basic fact of the matter is, get yourself make sure you buy with a receipt, and if you can, like me, get it insured. Most shops, especially game, they have an insurance program. Now yes, the chances are that your machine may never break down, but can you really put a price on peace of mind? Can you? I don't think so. Anyway, I just wanted to make this short, slightly ranty video. Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, and anybody else out there, you know, making a game controller. See this? Get it in the bin. Alright? Because this is not good enough. This is a flawed design, and it makes your product flawed. If you're going to sell me a Pro controller in a year or two for my PS5, it better not contain this nonsense. Alright, because if I'm going to spend a large amount of money on a controller, and let's face it, the DualSense controller, as far as I'm aware, is about 70 quid. You want me to spend 70 quid again to get this? To get this broken mess? Nah, that ain't happening, Sony. Fix this. Fix it now. Oh, and while you're about it, perhaps you could bring out a camera that's a little bit sharper. you know, or add some firmware to make the camera a bit sharper. And if it could actually, you know, make the green screen on Twitch work properly, that would be awesome too. Thanks. Okay guys, I said this was going to be a short one. I've rattled on for like 10 minutes. But, you know, I felt that I had to get this out. Anyway guys, you know the drill. Hashtag support Scottish YouTubers. And of course, as always, aye, no bother.